What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here today for another deck profile, and this time it's for Kozmo. So with E-Telly going to 2, I was a little curious about messing around with this and kind of seeing how I could change things and get a bit creative with it. Overall, the deck is, of course, more consistent with 2 copies of E-Telly. However, it does open up some cute things that you can do, and kind of somehow become like counters to the next kind of meta we could be looking at. So we'll go through that as we get to it. But of course, before we do get started, as always, please remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people to the channel. And let's get on into this deck profile. Before we do get started on this one, though, it is brought to you, of course, by yourplaymat.com, who got us our beautiful NolanTCG extra deck sleeves. These are available on yourplaymat.com, as well as you can get custom sleeves and custom playmats, so whatever you need for the current format. There is an affiliate link in the description down below that does get you a little bit of a discount on your order. Also, enter the code NOLAN10YP for 10% off your order. Also kicks back a little bit to the channel, so everything will be very much appreciated. If you're shopping there, you're getting custom sleeves, custom playmats down. Make sure to enter our code at checkout. But let's get on into this deck profile. Okay, so starting us off with the main deck, of course, we do start off with 3 copies of Kozmo Dark Destroyer. Obviously, it is the best Kozmo card, can't be targeted. Of course, the level 7 and 8s can't be done with that. It is still pretty funny whenever you drop this on like an opponent in 2021 and then be like, can't be targeted. Uh-oh. And then they pop it and they're like, cool, non-targeting destruction. You're like, okay, cool, yeah, banish effect summon. Yeah, it's pretty cute. So we have 3 copies of Dark Destroyer, of course. It is, of course, the best card in your deck. I'm saying of course a lot. Then after that, we have just slimmed down to 1 copy of Kozmo Forerunner now. Overall, you want to be resolving your Dark Destroyers as much as possible. You do just need like the 3rd target in deck to be able to get you through your tin can. Of course, you can add other stuff, but you want to typically have 3 ships or 3 above 5s that you can summon. So yeah, 1 copy of Forerunner gives you that healing. Of course, it summons from deck, but it's not the best one. And then after that, we go into 2 copies of Slip Rider. You do, of course, need the 2 copies of Slip Rider to get around. It also does get you into stuff in your extra deck, so it toolboxes out things like Infinity, if you do want to access that at the time. Of course, also quick popping on your opponent's turn of spell of trap cards. That's always good, isn't it? Then we go into our pilots. So, of course, 1 copy of Kozmo Dark Lady is our transition piece. It is also our monster negation. It is also our 3rd 5, giving us a solid bit of transition between the smalls and the bigs. You do, of course, need this for OTKing as well. Then we go into our smaller pilots. So these are our level 4 or lowers. We're not playing any level 4s, so we're just starting off with the 3s. It is 3 copies of Kozmo Farm Lady. Farm Girl, sorry, not Farm Lady. So, of course, attacking directly nets you that search. It is like an OCK facilitator. With the E-Telly at 3 as well, it is really, really cute that you can access this so easily. And then after that, 1 copy of Strawman, just 1 to add back the banished stuff. Like, it's not super necessary. You can cut this down if you want to cut this out. However, I do feel that 1 Strawman is always good to have in your Kozmo deck. And then after that, of course, 3 copies of Kozmo Tin Can. Your primary searcher, of course, end phase, does the whole look at 3. Of course, tags out as well. Why am I saying of course so much in this video? Hit that of course counter, everyone. And then we get into our hand traps after that. We are just playing 1 hand trap. It does go with the theme of E-Telly being at 2. It is, of course, 3 copies of Cyframe Gear Gamma. Rather cutely, this does also give you tech to go out through the other cards. So, of course, our extra deck. It gives you flex in your extra deck. That's what I'm kind of alluding to. We'll get to that when we get to that, though. It is followed up, of course, with the 1 copy of Driver. Do remember that a lot of the effects in this deck resolve off-field, so if your opponent has some kind of monster disruption for that, Gamma's just going to tidy that up and then ensure that you resolve. So playing 3 Gamma, always good. In the perfect world, you're resolving it on your turn. Then we go into our spells. Originally, I thought this spell lineup was pretty slim, but it ends up getting out to 10 cards. Of course, starting us off, 3 copies of Kozmo Town. Now, this does conflict with the draw spells that you play in this deck in its ability to shuffle and draw. However, it does have the recursion. It does have the ability to add when it's popped. Of course, you can pop it yourself. Do keep that in mind with your Slip Rider. However, that does lead us into the next card. I alluded that we're going to be playing a pot card. It is 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. You can switch this for Extravagance if you don't have the money for Extravagance. It just means you might need to tweak the extra deck a little bit, but of course, 3 copies of Prosperity is what we have in this list. Then after that, we get into the new card. So it is 2 copies of E-Telly. Accesses so much out of your deck. And it also then can clean out the copies of Gamma that are left over if your driver gets banished. That's not the funnest thing in the world. However, it means you're not going to draw them, and you can also use them as combo extenders, as you'll see when we get to our extra deck. And then lastly, 2 spells, 1 copy of Reasoning and 1 copy of 1-for-1. These are just your power 2. This gets your tin can from the deck, and this gets you pretty much everything. Everything you're playing, it has a different level, so you don't really mind. Whatever your opponent calls is likely going to be wrong, because you can summon 1 through 8. I think 6 would be the only one that wouldn't hit anything. And 4. Yeah, 4 and 6, they wouldn't do anything. And then after that, we go into our traps, of course. Starting us off is 3 copies of Kozmo. The reason why we're playing 3 is because we do have those 6 ships that we can be popping off this and getting that extra bit of disruption, plus then a follow-up recursion after that. Then we have 3 copies of Trap Trick, because we're playing a lot of normal trap cards, and this is more of a control build, so 3 copies of Trap Trick is definitely necessary. The rest of our trap lineup is a bunch of 2-ofs, so do keep that in mind, that if you draw 1, you won't have the access, but hey, you've already got it anyway, so you don't need to get access off Trap Trick with it. That, of course, does lead us into our 2-ofs, so we are playing 2 copies of Dogmatic Punishment. You're not going to be summoning from the extra deck a whole lot in this list, so don't stress too much about resolving your punishment and not being able to use your extra deck. 2 copies of Torrential Tribute. Destroys all monsters on the field. That does mean it will pop your ships off, which is always very cute. Can get you into a few OTKs that just kind of come out of nowhere, where you summon on your turn, pop everything, and then you just like flood with ships, and then you recur resources, and away you go. And then lastly, 2 copies of Back to the Front. When you tin can, everything's going to go to graves, so you want to be having access to at least 1 copy of Back to the Front through the duel to then get something back on board and get it rotating through with the ability to get it banished, recur it back, and summon from deck other things. Now we have our extra deck next. Of course, this does have a lot more things you can do now with the second copy of E-Telly not necessarily needing to be relied on to summon a Kozmo. You can go into things like I've mentioned a million times, the Gamma, and the Gamma can kind of toolbox out your extra deck. That does mean we are still playing the standard deck seizers though, so we've got 1 copy of Nova along with the Infinity for that package, and then 1 copy of Constellar Pallades. Something you can consider is Volcasaurus if you're concerned about losing in time. However, typically you're going to be going Nova Infinity. The Pallades is not really something you're going to be accessing all too much. Then we go into our Link lineup. So we do play Links, Synchros, Xyz, and Fusion. So for our links, we have 1 copy of Relinquished Anima for getting rid of some giant things and kind of making things funnier on your opponent with a tin can. 1 copy of Hulk Fibrax, because Gamma is a tuner, and it can then get you through a few plays that can get you to an OTK. We, of course, then have 1 copy of Unicorn after that. This is our transitional piece, so you go Hulk, summon out the second Gamma. Then you can go them both in Unicorn and then use the other card that you may have on your board for an access code talker. And then that access code goes off this, gets to 5/3, pops more stuff, and then, you know what, you're having a pretty good time, aren't you? And then we go into our Synchros after this. So first off, for our Synchros, we do have 1 copy of Wind Pegasus Ad Ignista. This is a target for you to be sending off your Dogmatic Punishment to disrupt your opponent. The other 4, though, can be used, some of them can, of course, be used for that same purpose, but the other ones have different kind of purposes. So, of course, 1 Shooting Riser Dragon. You're going to be seeing this a lot in profiles on the channel at the moment, because in the next format, when we do see Sword Soul come out, you want to be able to go into Shooting Riser Dragon if you can, to then toolbox out your token collector from deck, send it to grave, and then recur it back to kind of put a stop to Sword Soul. Then there is, of course, another option that you can go down with the FA Dawn Dragster. Keep in mind that these are being made with 1 copy of Slip Rider and a Gamma. And then we have 1 copy of Omega. You can summon this if you successfully resolve your Gamma on your turn. You can also, again, send this with Dogmatic Punishment. And then lastly, we have 1 copy of Stellar Wind Wolf Freight. This can be summoned with your... the big ship. Not the big ship, but the big ship. You know, the one I'm talking about, the Healy one. Healy ship. This can be made with that and Gamma. And then, of course, it does that cute thing where it can clear your opponent's board. It's just probably the best 9 you can kind of go into at the moment, which is the reason why we're playing it here. And then lastly, our fusions. These are all punishment targets, so we've got 2 copies of Entis to get those pops. And then 1 copy of 1 big Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon. This can really be anything. I'm just playing it because I like to play Blue Eyes. I should probably just be playing a regular Ultimate Dragon. I'd much rather do that. Why am I not doing that? Good question, Ben. Good question. But that does wrap us up for the deck profile for this one. So as always, do make sure to comment down below any changes that you would make to the deck. Probably the one thing I would recommend doing is looking into more of a Dogmatica line with all that stuff being reprinted in the Megatins. It's much cheaper. You can look at then playing stuff like Ecclesias and the Dear Servants and really revolving around that. We have experimented with that in the past, but overall I wanted to just play more of a standard control Kozmo build and really focus on Cosmos as a whole. But yeah, as always, I've been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.